Welcome to Connect Canyons, a podcast sponsored by Canyon School District. This is a show about what we teach, how we teach, and why. We get up close and personal with some of the people who make our schools great. Students, teachers, principals, parents, and more. We meet national experts too. Learning is about making connections. So connect with us.
Welcome to another broadcast of Connect Canyons podcast. Just super excited to have this distinguished group here with us today. This is Superintendent Rick Robbins. We're into Super Bowl week, gentlemen. We're thrilled to have this distinguished guest of honor with us. We're doing our annual Super Bowl podcast, so each year we like to get together with some football folks and just talk about the Super Bowl, the week, but maybe more importantly, just the impact that the game of football has had on your lives, what it means to you, what it means to our programs. We have current coaches in the room. We'll do some introductions. We have a Super Bowl champion with us. Sealver Siliga is on the line, so we want to welcome him as well. But it's just such an important time of the year, right? Like, this is Americana. I mean, this is what we do in this country. It should frankly be a national holiday. I think to all of us in the room, the game of football and what we've taken from it is something that really can never be repaid. And I know for me personally, with my own family, my own son, just how important football is, and that it's really done so much for my life on a personal and professional level as it has for my family. And I know that's impacted all of you. I think about just the great coaches and mentors and people that have been in our lives and what it means to the school and to the cultures that you all impact. I'll just start with introductions. Again, I'm Superintendent Rick Robbins, and I'll be facilitating the conversation. We have two former Ute legends with us today. Online is Sealver Siliga, former Super Bowl champion as well. To my left, our current head football coach at Corner Canyon, former head coach at Brighton High. Want to welcome Casey Sutera. Congratulations, Coach, on that new role. Told him he looks a little different in this Charger gear, but really excited for your time at Corner coming up and for all the great things that you've done at Brighton. Also want to welcome Cal Beck here with us, Ute legend, kick returner, wide receiver, corner. Funny story about Cal, he was one of the very first employees I actually had the chance to meet in the district. He teaches at Peruvian Park, one of our all-star teachers there, and just does a fantastic job in the classroom. And the same passion and energy that he played with on the football field, he's carried that into the classroom. And I see that every time I visit Peruvian Park. And then, of course, our head coach at Jordan High, Marc, Albertson's here with us and doing a fantastic job with the Beat Diggers in building the program. Our numbers are back up at Jordan. We're so excited about that, Coach. So just appreciate you being here with us today. So I want to just start out speaking to that tone of mentoring and what football's meant for you guys, to just talk a little bit about the impact and maybe one or two mentors that have had that impact on your life and your families and your career. Coach Sutera, we'll start with you.
First of all, just thanks for having me in this whirlwind of the last couple of weeks, going from Brighton and getting hired on to Corner and, being there previously. I can't tell you like the amount of, I don't think I can express the amount of gratitude I have for football and the relationships. And it's kind of went full circle. Just being around the halls at Corner Canyon, you see the people that I was there with as an assistant coach, kids that I coached in the youth camps that are now playing for me that I never even remembered the impact I had on him. And then just the people at Brighton, I wish they would be a little meaner to me because it makes it a little tough. In this, they make it tough because all the people up there have been awesome about me taking on this opportunity. But just, again, the amount of gratitude I have for the game of football and what it's provided me, I don't even know if I can express in words right now. So my high school coach, one coach that I really, really look back on and built my confidence, Wes Meyer, back at Murray High School. I don't know if you guys know Wes Meyer, but he was an assistant coach. I just remember him building my confidence up. I came in as like a defensive and offensive lineman, tall, skinny kid. And he believed in me and saw something in me that he saw that I was willing to work and I had a good attitude. And that always resonated with me. And I just want to shout him out real quick as a mentor to me. And also Coach Gary Anderson that I was with at Southern Utah. originally as a freshman down there, and then I transferred to Utah to finish my career, but he was just a huge impact. Another guy that I don't know if I have people like that in my corner, a guy that's maybe lacked some of the athleticism, but was willing to work and had a good attitude. Those type of people saw something in me, and I can't tell you how grateful I am for those people in my life.
Thank you, Coach. Cal.
Coaching reflects what happens in the classroom, and for the best and the worst of things. I've discovered 18 years in teaching and even more in coaching that you develop those relationships, and you want the relationship that you have with that mentor coach that you just spoke of. You want to impart that knowledge and have those connections with your kids. When those kids come back to you at the end of their career, at the end of 4 years being freshman to senior, or they come back after graduation, or they come back after post-mission, post-graduating college, when they connect with you and you see how well they did, you remember those practices when you told them life lessons are happening every moment in practice. And when we were kids and our coaches were yelling at us, threatening no water breaks until we did something right, we didn't want to believe them, but it was there. And that's one of the beautiful things, just of athletics and competition, but football specifically, is it does mirror a lot of life lessons and qualities. And when kids figure out that independently and as a cohort team, it just gives them more of a boost. It's a springboard into success for the rest of life. The winning that happens on the football field isn't always on the scoreboard. Just like it with any sport, if you can start at square one and grow, and you can show these kids, this is what matters, these are the skills we want to master, and you can get them to buy into it and try to master those skills. That's the same as an academic progress report in the classroom. So football does allow you those connections and a format for the way life can go if it gets more than just a little rough. It's easy for me to recall coaches that have blessed my upbringing in childhood. Number one is Coach McBride up at the university. And it transcends beyond that because I knew him from when I was a younger child, from 10 years and up, going to a summer camp. And the relationships that he would have with everybody, it didn't change once I became his player. Coach Boyce, my Pee Wee Little League football team, I still run into him and talk with him. And then other coaches, not so much that I played for, but that I coached with. Mateo was the head coach at Alta when I was there for 6 years. Absolutely awesome with his coaching tree. And all of the former players at Utah that coached with me at Alta or against me at Corner Canyon, those relationships, that camaraderie, we all build from that. And it's all from the same place in the heart.
It's quite a brotherhood when you think about just how small our football world really is and how we're all interrelated in those relationships. Coach Marc, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I feel like everything that I was going to say has already been said, but I think football is just the ultimate team sport. Whether you're a third string player or a starter or an all-state guy, like every person has a role, every person has a responsibility, and whether that's scout team or you're the star player, every person's role is important. And I think about that like Cal was saying, like in the classroom, it's important for us to have kids in the classroom that play different roles. There's kids who are going to be the quiet ones, there's kids who are going to be the loud ones, but finding a place for every person to feel safe and excited to be there is just so important for me. I know when I was growing up, my head coach, Wiley Allred, Washington State legend, he took a kid who was from a divorced family and he brought me that same confidence in myself. I was just really excited. I got the opportunity to coach with him again. And just that bond that he created when I was a player was still the same way when I was coaching with him. Coach Taylor was another great mentor of mine, where we would sit in his office for hours before and after games, and we would just chat and talk. And we talked about rap music. We talked about just life in general. And he just was a really good mentor of like giving me the confidence to get this job and telling me that I can and I'm able to get this job as well.
That's pretty incredible. You just think about that when you guys are talking about confidence and building up young people to have that belief in themselves. Sealver, you've experienced this Little League all the way up to the NFL. I can't imagine the number of coaches and people in your life that have influenced you for good. Just take a moment to reflect on that a little bit for us.
For sure. I would say that I've been very, very blessed to play the game of football for as long as I did. It's hard for me to kind of sit back and only choose a couple because there's been so many people that have been very impactful in my career, in my life, just as a boy growing into a man and then a man becoming something else, becoming a father, husband, so on. When I look at people that have impacted me and why I think it's so important for me at this age to give back. And especially with all the coaches, what you guys are doing is so impactful. Is, when you're at that age as a kid, you really don't see past the present day. And for somebody to see and believe in something that you can't even comprehend is such a blessing, because by the time they figure it out and by the time they realize the power of that vision, in a sense, the ball's already rolling. I know Miss Hilton's there, but the reason why I have such a connection with Miss Hilton, because throughout my career and throughout my life, there was people there there were parts of my life that were so instrumental in me creating the life I was so lucky enough to be able to create. There were people there without Miss Hilton. I could have went the wrong way and went down a path that didn't lead me to the University of Utah. Without people that I grew up with, like a gentleman named Matt Martinez, who helped train me in college, without these people to help me understand what the purpose of me being in college was, it wasn't only football, but also education. And the purpose was to better my life, not only through sports, but through, again, education. And then when I got in the NFL, there was a gentleman, one specific gentleman that I was so lucky enough to be a part of, and his name was John Pease, and he was up there at University of Utah. He had coached for a long time. But here's a gentleman, at the time when I got to college, I needed somebody that was a little bit more stiffer, that would just tell me how it is and would whip me into shape. And he was that gentleman for me. And so throughout my life, I think I've been so blessed and so lucky to have these instrumental parts and these people that played a part in within this chess game I play. But now it's like I see now as an older gentleman, and I see these kids growing up, and I see the effects of, teachers have and principals and all of this. It's very humbling to see, because now I understand the true importance of all of this and what it meant as a kid, where you can't really see that, but now seeing it now and seeing the blessing that I have, I'm just so humble to see people that give their time to be head coaches, so humble to see people that teach in the school system, so humble to see the people sacrifice their own lives, and they could be doing other things, but they chose to help give back to kids and help better the future. So it's awesome to see.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And I think for everybody that's listening to the podcast as we get into Super Bowl weekend, as you mentioned, Sealver, whether you're a teacher, you're a coach, you're an advisor, you're an administrator, you're a custodian, you work in our cafeterias, you don't know what kind of impact you have on those students that come to us every single day. And I'm just so proud of our family in Canyons and what that means here, that we really are committed to relationships and trying to build each other up and build a generation that's going to lead our country and our world in the future. And that's important, right? Because I say it all the time, anytime I'm in front of our teachers, if you're asking yourself, what is my why? Why do I get up every morning to do these most difficult jobs that we all have? You are all explaining the why. And I just hope everybody will take that to heart, that you do make a difference. And yes, football is the vehicle we're talking about, and the model that for all of us is probably the greatest example. But each and every day, you could be that bus driver that's first to see a student onto the bus, that takes them to school, and you're the last to drop them off at the end of the day. Just how important that is, play that really important role in our students' lives. I want to change gears just a little bit. And so thinking about football as a cultural event, right? It doesn't just impact football players. Every Friday night, every Saturday, every Sunday, our nation, our communities gather around, whether it's the TV or the football stadium, but it involves so many people. And I look at our high schools and all of our programs and the impact that it has, whether you're in the band, or you're a cheerleader on the drill team, you're part of the SBOs, or you're in the student section. But it's such a cultural event that has so much impact on just the nature and the culture and what happens in our schools. I want you just to talk a little bit about that and the influence that football has. But in general, I just want our listeners, and especially our students that are listening to the podcast, to know how important it is to find that passion, to find that extra gear, to get involved. And frankly, for me as a superintendent, yeah, my bias toward football, because that's the sport I played, of course. But what I see in students that just make a decision to get involved in activities, whatever it is, maybe it's theater and drama, maybe it's a science club or whatever it is, it's just that additional motivation that has such a big impact on the culture of our schools. And I feel like, especially in Canyons, we're committed. Whatever it is that you want to be or be involved in, go for it. So I'll let you guys talk a little bit about that.
So I think, just like you said, there's a lot of different activities that kids in the Canyon School District can be involved in. I know football, that's what the platform and what I did, but I tell the kids all the time on the football team to be respectful of those other people and what they do. I think that's a really important part of being a head coach. And community is, you have a responsibility as an athlete, no matter what you play, but football, because there is a lot of a spotlight on football, you have a responsibility to represent the school and the community in that way, in the most positive place, and be respectful for people and what they do. Like, they might do something different from you. I talk about my own kids, and my kids do play football. I have a 12 and 7-year-old, but they're like, if they didn't play football, what would you do? And I said, you know what, as long as they're doing something outside of just going to school for the sake of school, to keep them motivated and to keep them active and doing things like, that's the things I want them to be. Again, I'm ecstatic that my kids play football, but again, there's a lot of other things out there that can help keep kids out of trouble and help keep kids motivated. So yeah, whatever there is out there to do, you find your thing, and I would say go for it.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. Okay.
I'm going to piggyback on that. It is a matter of finding a passion. I mean, I'm curious as to how many listeners out there understand when and why football became the national obsession in the United States. That's an interesting historical tidbit in itself. We were riding the crest off of post-World War II. Most of the young men were anticipating getting drafted. They were in an aggressive mindset. We needed something to keep them team-oriented and physically active. Introduce football. Football takes off in a national spotlight. We start to focus on it more because it is a team and a family contribution, and it's the biggest roster. When you have a football team, you can soak in. How many kids do you have senior to freshman?
80.
There are no other programs athletically that can draw in that many, maybe swimming and diving. But you talk outside of athletics, you're talking theater, you're talking band. So anything that can get a conglomerate or a team effort around to teach kids that they are part of a bigger picture. And if they can find a passion in doing even the mundane things, it's not about being on the front of Sports Illustrated. It's not about getting a write-up, being on a podcast, now getting that NIL money. If you can find a way to be happy contributing to a bigger picture and take pride in that, you will be successful in any avenue in life, I feel. And that's the essence of a school. That's the essence of a student. It's the essence of a job. It's the essence of being a parent. You're not going to get all of the support and input that you might need. But if you can figure out, if I could take care of me right now, one play at a time, the fourth quarter and the scoreboard will take care of itself. If I can take care of me right now in summer training, get myself up at 6 a.m. to go run, maybe not because I want to, but because my teammates are counting on me being there. If I can put their needs above mine, I'm winning. Then when you end up being in the thick of it, you're in the huddle. We all know that feeling. When we've looked at teammates' eyes, fourth quarter drive, you're down by 6, and you look at all of them, and you connected in that moment because you said, we're going to get this done. And instantly, you all form this stronger bond because you're in the thick of it. That is what we try to repeat in athletics. That's what we want to repeat in schools, is rallying around something and overcoming it, either with ourselves and with other support. So football and any group activity, specifically academics or within the school, is great for kids to understand the big picture. And not only are they important, but what they do matters. And if you can take care of your pennies, the dollars will count themselves in the end. That is what the touching moment of football and athletics and school activities is for me. Because it can be done in any activity, not specifically football. Football is just more wider. And the more physical the activity, the more you've got to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and get back in there. That's kind of the strength of football. Do you guys know what the hardest physical sport is? Water polo.
I was going to say, yeah.
I bet their bonds are just as strong because they know every time they pass someone the ball, it's please don't get drowned, because that's the defensive point. But those moments create bonds, and that's what we want, coach to player or within player to player. I think of the number of teammates I had from Pee Wee Little League that are in my contacts right now, and how often we text each other. And those bonds were made in a huddle, on a 4th and 1, on a 4th and 20, and we had to punt. There came animosity. We bonded together, found strength, became greater than the sum of our parts, and found success.
Yeah, I totally agree, Cal. I think something that we really want to focus on, to your point, is just that resiliency. And I think we've lost that a little bit. This generation of failing forward, learning, yeah, you do. You got to pick yourself back up and get after it again. And that's okay. That's okay. We all learn way more from failing forward than we probably ever did from all the success that we ever had. So, Coach Albertson, what's your take?
Yeah, Cal said something interesting too with, it's built in a huddle, but I think it's built with the trust from doing things way before the huddle, right? I always tell my boys, it's like you look around and you see the people who are working and lifting and in school. Like those are the people that you're going to trust when it comes to those hard moments. And I think that is what makes football so awesome. And that's what makes the football community so awesome, is that it's a lot of work back in January and in February and in March for 60 minutes of a game. That is just a game. 48 minutes, it's a game. And it's just a battle and a battle. I love Friday nights, and Jordan has done a really good job over the last couple of years of incorporating the dance team, the drill team, the band, the cheerleaders. My kids go to every game, and you will see my son in a Jordan Little League jersey and my daughter's in Jordan cheer outfits. It's a community that football just happens to be the culmination of the entire week. It's Friday night. The kids are excited, but it's way more of it's the school community celebrating the fact that we all get to come together, we all get to perform, and we all get to cheer on a team and a unit and a community with a common goal and a common purpose. And I think that's what makes football so great, is it's everybody working together for that common goal.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sealver, what are your thoughts on this?
Just to piggyback off of that, I mean, ancillary to that point is I don't think people realize how important it is to have other groups involved. When you look at football, it is a community sport. Maybe on the off season, it's more specific to the team, the players, the coaches, how we scheme, how we train, how we do all these other things. But on that Friday night light, especially specifically to high school football, Friday night light, it's the whole environment. And when you have the environment of the student body, you have all these, it's the reason why homecoming is such a huge thing, and you can feel it. Even though I don't play football in high school no more, I could go to a homecoming and I can feel it. And it's because you have all the student body there. Everybody's supporting. You have the other groups there. They all have their time to kind of show off what they do and what they do to represent the school. And I don't think it's talked enough about how important that is for the football culture, especially when you start the season off or when you start the school off. The very first sport that we start with is football. Football sets the tone and it sets the culture within the school. So a lot of the student bodies, a lot of their culture that the chemistry they're building within that specific year is built from that day forward. And so I think it's very important that, these other sports are involved, because in the end of it, really, those games, those important games, and all of the camaraderie that is built, it's really because of the sport of these other sports. And so I think it's such an important thing that we should always touch on. And I don't think in the past it's ever been viewed in a way like that until I've experienced it at the highest level. I mean, you could play, it's like the COVID year. When people played in those games, no fans in the stadium. Talk about the most dead football you could ever talk about. And there was just nobody. I mean, you can get all riled up, but after 2 minutes, I could hear the other guy across from me breathing, and we're both breathing hard, and it becomes a whole, it's just like we're practicing. Now, not to lessen practice, but you lose that emotion, you lose that touch of football, which makes it so, it makes it so, it makes it what football is with all the emotions. So that's my take on it.
I just love to see on Friday nights how it brings our communities together, considering everything that's gone on in our world, maybe things that aren't as positive, but on a Friday night, it just seems like all of that kind of goes away for a few hours and we get to enjoy each other and something that's bigger than ourselves. That's pretty awesome. All right, now we're going to get to this week, the Super Bowl. We've got a rematch with the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots.
Seahawks?
I don't know that any of us would have predicted that this would be the last two standing. I think that's what makes the NFL so beautiful.
That's what makes the Super Bowl even better.
Right.
It's not the teams that I predicted. It happened to the Broncos with their starting quarterback just threw another twist into it.
Yeah, the parody and the unknowns and the twists and the turns. I'm a Raider fan, so, hopefully better days are ahead. Welcome, Fernando Mendoza to Raider Nation.
Yes.
Yeah, to the draft. Football's 24/7 year-round. But some great storylines, right? I mean, you can't overlook Sam Darnold's ascent and his talking about resilience and a guy that's bounced around the league that people gave up on.
How many coaches have been fired that gave up on
Right? Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's incredible with his story. And then you have Drake May on the other side in his second year. I believe the second youngest quarterback now to start in a Super Bowl next to Dan Marino, both coming in with, terrific stats at the quarterback position. Obviously, the coaches, McDonald, Coach Vrabel, leaving Tennessee, ends up there doing a fantastic job as an all-pro alum with New England himself. So that there's a lot there to talk about, but just want to go around the room, maybe talk about a couple of your keys to the game and where you plan on spending Super Bowl Sunday this week.
So I'll start out and shout this out last year. My son's a Bills fan and he's going to boycott the Super Bowl this year. He told me that he's not going to watch. He thinks that was a catch and not an interception with the Broncos. I don't know. That's a tough one in live time, but so I had to shout that out again. The Bills, and there's a lot of things going on there. So that's another story. I'll say that Patriots-wise, I'm going to talk a little bit about them and the defenses because I am a defensive-minded coach. You guys know that. Mike Vrabel is just one I'm super impressed with. And just looking at him as an NFL coach and how hands-on he is as far as like jumping in there to show a drill or just you watch him, just every single player he says something to when they go in the locker room, win, lose, or whatever. I just am really impressed with how his approach and how he goes about it. That's someone I connect a lot with as a coach, so again, Seahawks love what they're doing defensively. It's something I think schematically they do a lot of similar things that I've done at Brighton and at corner and things like that. But I'm a huge fan of Vrabel and what he's doing with that team. And like I said, going from Tennessee and back to where he played ball at, I'm really impressed with him. As far as like where we're going to watch the game is we always go to my parents' house. I guess my son will be in the room by himself, not watching it. There with my family, my brother, who's also our defensive coordinator. We just sit and watch the game. We don't even watch it like, as a fan, we're just watching schemes and what they're doing. But as far as I don't know if we're doing predictions yet, but we can talk about that later, I guess. But
Super Bowl
food. Oh man. Some sort of wings, I think. Something like that. I don't know. Wings. I could eat as many wings as you throw at me, but yeah, probably wings. And I don't know just anything. Just throw them at me. Yeah, just throw it at me. So, but yeah, no, excited for it. I like the defensive matchup. I'm always a fan of that. And you look at the teams that made it in the AFC and NFC championship game were a lot defensive minded. Super excited for it. But yeah, we'll go to
predictions.
Okay, we'll go predictions right now.
On the way.
So I think it's going to be a tight game. I think you're going to have some of the similar low scoring, maybe not like the Broncos Pats with the snowstorm because the weather will be a little better, but I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I'm going with the Pats.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cal.
That's fair.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Being a Jets fan, it's hard for me to pull for the Patriots in any form. I appreciate what both teams have done throughout the playoffs. At this point in the year, you realize it's not the best football teams that are playing. It's the best and most healthy teams that are still playing. And that speaks to the resilience of the coach and the team that they have in place. I like both defenses. They are a joy to watch. In fact, I watch the game just like you do. I prefer the sky cam end zone view of the inside the box with no commentators messing it up for me. That's how I like to watch the game, is just like there. I would say coaching-wise, I think Seattle's got the edge just out of experience. Vrabel's got the energy. I just think Seahawks have more. They are more experienced for this. Same with players. Talent-wise, I think the Patriots have them. But I think experience-wise, execution-wise, that's where the game's going to come down to. Team that makes the least mistakes is obviously the one that is a foot or two ahead. It is going to be a defensive battle. I'm going to take the under on the commercials. I think the game is more entertaining than the commercials this year. That's the one hope I always have, is that I don't start tuning into the commercials more than I am the game, because it ends up being a blowout. I'm going to go with a 21-17 Seahawks, and they will hand the ball off on the goal line this time.
Okay, yeah. We all remember that infamous pass. Yeah, you just can't overlook the defenses in this game. And I saw an interview over the weekend talking to some of the latest Seahawk players on the defensive side, now called the dark side. They wanted their own identity. They said, hey, we're tired of hearing about the Legion of Doom. We want to be the dark side. So now they've got their own identity, and definitely both defenses are superior. So, Coach Albertson.
Go to Super Bowl snack.
Super Bowl snack, Cal.
My dad's wings.
Wings, okay.
I had that specifically. Dad pulls out the wings, it's over.
Wings are 2-0. All right. Coach.
So I'm a longtime Seattle sports fan. I grew up in Seattle. So I've been watching Seahawk football when they were good. I've been watching Seahawk football when they were bad. I've enjoyed this year. I've enjoyed watching them play. I think it's going to come down to the quarterback play. I do. I think Drake May is going to do a fantastic job. As long as Sam Darnold doesn't see ghosts, I think we're going to be okay. But I just love the energy that both teams bring. I love that there's two relatively new coaches that are coming in and kind of setting the tone for new coaches in the NFL. I'm going to go 24-21 Seahawks win, and they're going to get a win on the 49ers field, and it's going to feel really good. And go to Super Bowl snack, jalapeno poppers.
Okay. All right. Sealver.
I think mine's not super strategic. I think I'm just watching it as a fan nowadays. I don't really get into it too much. I do watch the game on mute. I don't like hearing them talk just because they talk a whole lot about nothing. But I think this is a good game for all my Seattle fans. They got a little bit PTSD from the last time they saw us. But I think I'm rooting for the Patriots. I think it's going to be a good game. I really respect both defenses. I try not to watch games, but somehow I walk in on that type of stuff, look at formations and stuff like that. But for the most part, I'll watch it as a fan. I'm rooting for New England for obvious reasons. Yeah, and I think it's going to be similar to what happened last time. It'll come down to the end.
What's your favorite Super Bowl snack or food?
I'm pretty basic, so it's probably going to be like pizza or something like that. I'm a big body person, so it's anything that's on the table I'm going to like.
That's awesome. Just want to thank you guys. For me, I'm in agreement. I think it's going to be a close one. Both defenses are incredible. Super excited. Coach Kubiak with the Seattle Seahawks looks like going to end up as our head coach in Las Vegas. So very excited for him. And of course, his legacy and his family, and his dad also was a head coach and longtime NFL player himself. So great to see that legacy continue on, and we're hopeful in Raider Nation that he can get things turned around. But I think it's going to be close, probably a 20-17, very close battle. I think in a way, cheering for Sam Darnold, just in the fact that, he wins 14 games in Minnesota and has two maybe not so great games, ends up getting let go, and then signs the contract with Seattle. What a story for him. But I love listening to him after games, just so humble and always talking about his teammates. He rarely talks about himself, but gives all the credit to his teammates. And it just, to me, those are the kinds of stories that you like to see. But
Sam Darnoldson is a perfect example of the power of yet
right?
From our Thrive Time curriculum.
Yes.
Like, you're talking about somebody who is a professional athlete and successful wherever he goes, just not successful enough to stay. And he didn't take it personally.
Yep.
He just took his skill set everywhere, found a place for a world championship.
Yeah, no, that's such a great message, Cal. And I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate you taking time to visit with us and just imparting your wisdom and your thoughts especially to all of our young people that are going to listen to this podcast. And, I know our young people are going through a lot, everything that's happening in our world and all the pressures and mental health issues and things that our students are dealing with. Hope that they listen to you and listen to our podcast today and can just gain a little bit of hope about that, hey, there is tomorrow. You know, you can pick yourself up, you can get up early in the morning, you can go back to work, and you can make things happen and
Another
be
day, another
another
play.
day. That's right. Absolutely.
The essence
You
of
play for
football.
the next play. So with that, this is Superintendent Robbins on Connect Canyons. We appreciate you all taking time to join us for our annual Super Bowl podcast. Wherever you're going to enjoy the Super Bowl this weekend, we hope that you'll take time to enjoy that moment with your family and friends. Eat some great food, and we'll see what happens. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Connect Canyons. Connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Canyons District, or on our website, canyonsdistrict.org.